The Vector V8 is the craziest supercar ever made. Lamborghini, Porsche, and Ferrari. During a period when supercars were still a relatively new phenomenon in automobile culture, these three manufacturers collectively controlled the supercar enthusiast community. When the 1990s came around, it appeared that the rest of the world had had enough of the status quo, and as a result, usurpers and revolutionaries with a strong sense of purpose would follow. Next, we have Vector Aeromotive Corporation, who infused this mixture with their somewhat obscure American flavor. Established in Wilmington, California by seasoned businessman Gerald Wiegert, this company would appropriately be characterized as shock and awe when it entered the car sector with the introduction of his Vector W8 twin-turbo. Knowing full well that he could not rely on brand heritage or status to make a statement, this was likely Wiegert's only viable strategy. With a keen awareness of the ramifications of this journey, Wiegert stated, "The idea is to build a reputation, not ride on one." The company was able to raise more than USD 13 million in cash and expand into a 35,000 square foot building because this message struck a chord with some people in the proper circles and, more significantly, some investors. Taking a chance. The W8 twin-turbo, formerly known as the W2 during its prototype phase, evolved into a 6.0 liters, mid-engined, rear-wheel drive V8 supercar with 625 horsepower and an extroverted chassis exterior made of materials of aerospace-grade carbon fiber and Kevlar. The concept of a supercar was undoubtedly further abstracted by Wiegert and Vector Aeromotive Corporation, who took it into space with certain on-paper specs that wouldn't seem out of place in a discussion about modern supercars or even hypercars. In many ways, the Vector W8 twin-turbo was ahead of its time, but in the end, it lagged behind the constantly changing curve because of the financial difficulties faced by the firm and its final demise. The mythology continues. Ultimately, production was stopped after just 17 customer cars and 2 prototypes were produced. The nostalgia for the W8 twin-turbo is still strong among its small but devoted fan base today. Many private collectors are interested in this car because it is regarded as a classic unicorn vehicle. Periodically, samples are put up for sale and can bring in enormous sums of money, ranging from USD 200,000 for restoration projects to USD 1 million for mint examples. Even if Vector Aeromotive Corporation didn't take off, Wiegert was still able to disrupt the automotive market by creating a supercar unlike any other. Some even contend that the Vector W8 twin-turbo has left a lasting legacy, establishing the United States as a major player in the supercar industry and paving the way for the creation of future supercars bearing the label Made in America, such as the Ford GT and Celine S7. Engine and performance. The engine of the Vector W8 twin-turbo not only defined the character of the vehicle itself, but also shaped the perception of engines to come, especially in the US. On paper, the mid-mounted unit's specs were impressive due to its massive power output, but its actual performance in certain situations is questionable at best. Specifications. The 6.0 liters twin-turbocharged V8 engine, when running with 8 pounds of boost, is said to generate 625 horsepower at 5,700 rpm and 649 pounds of torque at 4,900 rpm. The aluminum block and head fuel-injected power plant, which is installed transversely in the engine bay, is based on a 5.7 liters Chevrolet engine that was stroked and then fitted with forced induction. The driver can vary the boost pressure through the Garrett turbochargers up to a maximum of 14 psi, which according to Vector Aeromotive Corporation would enable the engine to produce an astounding 1,200 horsepower. Connected to the engine is an Oldsmobile parts catalog-sourced 3-speed automatic transmission that has been suitably strengthened to meet the demands of its new master and is paired with a Gleason-Torsen differential. Even by today's standards, all of these elements combine to produce extremely outstanding performance numbers at the time. The rear-wheel drive Vector W8 twin-turbo could go from 0 to 60 miles per hour in 4.2 seconds and could reach a quarter of a mile at 124 miles per hour in 12 seconds. In contrast, this meant that it was quicker in these measurements than the Ferrari F40, Bugatti EB110 GT, and Jaguar XJ 220, all of which have previously held the top speed records. Interestingly, though, neither Vector Aeromotive Corporation nor any outside test drivers officially carried out a top speed test. Instead, by doing computations using the engine's maximum URP and the gear ratios of the 3-speed, a theoretical top speed of 218 miles per hour was determined. Handling and chassis. To realize Wiegert's dream of building a supercar capable of upending the oligarchy, the W8 twin-turbo needed to be more than just a brute force. As a consequence, the suspension was also expertly put together using a cutting-edge methodology, producing a combination of components that would provide the vehicle with the agility and poise required to match its power. The W8 twin-turbo has an independent double wishbone suspension system with adjustable Koni shocks, concentric springs, and an anti-roll bar mounted over the front wheels. The package is completed in the back with an adjustable anti-roll bar, concentric springs, adjustable Koni shocks, and a Didion rear axle with diagonal trailing links. The braking system of the W8 twin-turbo combines aluminum 4-pot Alcan calipers in the front and rear with 13-inch vented rotors. Specially designed Michelin XGT Plus tires 255/45/16 front, 315/40/16 rear fitted to a custom set of wheels that were forged by the original buyer's specifications allowed the car to touch the tarmac. Interior design, styling. It would be correct to characterize the two-seater supercar as an even more daring iteration of the wedge-shaped, angular Lamborghinis from that era. Even though it has features in common with the previously mentioned, like a truncated tail and low flat front, the Vector W8 twin-turbo is the most advanced kit car replica available. The 1968 Alfa Romeo Carrabbo, one of the prototypes to adopt what was then considered very futuristic design characteristics, served as the inspiration for the W8's design. With its massive rear wing, the W8 twin-turbo produced relatively low drag thanks to the combination of the greatest aerodynamic principles available at the time with a body composed mostly of carbon fiber. The W8 would experience minor modifications during its brief manufacturing run as a result of the somewhat customized privileges granted to each of the original suitors. These included the removal of a few gills, modifications to the front grille, rear wing, and mirror intakes, as well as a lower front fascia and air splitter. The glass roof, which was installed on early models, was finally taken off completely. Weavart's love of fast cars was indiscriminate, as evidenced by the W8's cockpit stylistic cues, which he took directly from fighter jets. Most notable are the driver's seat, which is sort of in the middle with the shifter on the left, and the dashboard's digital displays, which look like they belong in the set of Top Gun. 4 screens on the dashboard showed different car-related information. The car's opulent and generally comfortable cabin made it a particularly pleasant city driver, even while weight reductions meant that essential amenities like power steering and ABS were sacrificed. The majority of the inside panels were lined with premium leather and suede, while wool carpeting and floor mats were placed on the flooring. There was air conditioning as standard and electrical adjustment for the well-bolstered Recaro leather seats. Costing. Of course, running a boutique supercar firm is not without its difficulties. Many of the well-meaning promises made by Vector Aeromotive Corporation could not be fulfilled in the absence of the support, expertise, and framework that a major manufacturer would have offered. Among these was its pricing. Although the Vector W8 twin-turbo was once advertised as a USD $250,000 automobile, by the time it was delivered, buyers would have to pay more than USD $450,000. In today's currency, about USD $800,000, that's a significant sum of money. But in the early 1990s, it was much more. In the end, not many were sold because it was among the priciest cars one could, or perhaps more properly, couldn't acquire. Only 19 W8 twin-turbos were produced, 2 of which were prototypes before the company shuttered its doors after operating on fumes for a few years after launching. Given the company's current bankruptcy and the Vision's surrender, many people would assume that the story stops here. Practically speaking, the company was a complete bust. But the Vector W8 twin-turbo has managed to survive on its own, partly because of the cult following it has developed and partly because of Hollywood or some other form of celebrity. I predict that social media and the current climate of growing nostalgia will only serve to increase the car's visibility. You would have to wait potentially endlessly for a Vector W8 twin-turbo to be offered for sale or auction before being able to purchase one today. If an example requires restoration, you would need to budget at least USD $200,000, and for a mint example, you could need to budget up to USD $1 million or more. For a failed endeavor, not bad. Thank you for watching, and please like, share, and subscribe. See you later.